and propels himself through the marathon course on his longboard. He will be sharing his message, if I can, where he encourages everyone to make the most of life, regardless of the challenge we face. Chris, the floor is yours. Please.
Thank you very much, thank you guys very much for coming, and for everybody else out there that's watching live. Yeah, my name is Chris, and I'm from Western Canada. Calgary would be the closest city to where I'm from. Just a little small farming and ranching community just outside of Calgary called Nanton. And I just got here at 11 o'clock. Actually, Christofer picked me up at the airport, took me to my hotel. So I haven't really had a chance to see a whole lot of Reykjavik yet, but I guess tomorrow I'll be seeing 42.2 kilometers of Reykjavik, so I'm looking forward to that. I guess to tell my story properly, I should probably give you a bit of a background as to just right from the very beginning. I was born missing arms and legs. There's no real known reason as to why. You know, a lot of people have asked me if it was thalidomide, which was a morning sickness pill back in the 60s and 70s. That wasn't the case. I was born after that. And my mom never took anything or did anything detrimental to the pregnancy. It's just one of those things that happened. And even though I was born missing arms and legs, life for me was normal growing up. It was a lot of fun, and I think, relatively speaking, for somebody who grew up without arms and legs, I guess a lot of people find it shocking when I say it was actually easy. And I attribute that to two things. One, a good sense of humor. And I think that's probably the most important. I've always said, if you can't laugh at life, what can you laugh at? And we all have bad days. We all have days where things just aren't going my way, or aren't going your way. And I think if you're having one of those days, instead of just letting, whatever series of unfortunate events that's happening, just kind of pile up one on top of the other, and you get more and more frustrated and angrier as the day progresses. I think if you can kind of slow it down and find the funny in whatever's going on, just try and laugh it off. It helps you get over it easier, and maybe you got a good story or something like that to share friends or family or coworkers or whatever. So for me, when I was born, the day I was born, my grandma and grandpa weren't able to make it over to Alberta, where I'm from. And so my uncle phoned my grandma and grandpa to let them know that my mom and dad had a baby boy, that I was healthy, but I was missing arms and legs. So my grandma's reaction was to jokingly say that my dad never finished anything he started. And that was perfect. That reaction, I don't think I could have started life any better way. Her reaction wasn't one of, oh my goodness, this is horrible, what are we going to do, what a tragedy, what kind of life is he going to lead? Her reaction was one of, all right, it is what it is, we can't change it, everything's going to be fine, and we're going to have some good laughs along the way. And, in continuing in that same theme, my brother refers to me as his half-brother. Sometimes you got to let those land. My dad was and so some of these jokes that I tell, I got to make sure that they aren't lost in translation. But my dad was at a conference a while ago, and they were sitting around afterwards, and people are kind of telling some stories and telling some jokes. And this lady, knowing absolutely nothing about me, told the joke, what do you call a guy without arms and legs in the water? Have you guys heard that joke over here? No? Oh, shoot, this might not work very well. But so the joke is, what do you call a guy without arms and legs in the water? And my dad says, well, it's Chris. And the lady goes, no, it's Bob. And my dad goes, no, that's his brother. So my brother's name is actually Bob, but the joke is, like, to bob up and down in the water is, like, there's other cheesy ones. What do you call a guy without arms and legs at your front step? Matt. There's another, what do you call a guy? But you know what? I'm just going to back up here. So anyways, she didn't know anything about me. She tells this joke, and my dad's kind of picking on her, like, no, it's Chris. You know, Chris has no arms, no legs, and my brother's name is actually Bob. And then she felt horrible when she found out that she told this joke, and my dad actually has a son without arms and legs. And it's one of those things where, you know, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. I don't know how many times I've been to a restaurant or a store or whatever, and somebody comes up and says, just let us know if we can give you a hand. I mean, any assistance with anything. Like, if you ask me if I need a hand with something, I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to get upset. So having that good sense of humor, being able to just laugh off life has been huge in my life. And also, it helps put people at ease. When people first meet me, they're not too sure how to react. You know, they're not too sure if, you know, like even something as simple as, you know, people ask me, well, how do you, like, do you shake hands or do you fist bump or what? I'm like, I don't care. I really don't care. So when I can make jokes and joke around with people, it puts them at ease. They realize I'm just a regular person, having fun, laughing, you know, loving and laughing at life. You know, you don't have to be super sensitive and worry about saying the wrong thing. So yeah, that's been huge. And the other reason why growing up without arms and legs has been easy is this has been my normal my whole life. I've never known what it's like to have arms and legs. So for everybody here, you know, you have fingers and toes and knees and elbows and all that complicated stuff. You know, when you just figured out how to do things. When you're a little baby, you don't remember, you know, consciously learning how to grasp things with your hands or consciously learning how to crawl or walk or run. It just all happened naturally. And it's pretty much the same thing for me. I just figured out how to do things the way I do things now. And, you know, my mom and dad said it was difficult at times to, you know, see me struggle. You know, they wanted to jump in there and help me out, but they realized very, very early on that I needed to figure that stuff out myself. And so to kind of sit back and watch me maneuver whatever I had to do and just figure out a way. And that really goes for parenting, whether it's a person who's, you know, a child who's missing limbs or, you know, regular able-bodied child. If you hover over your kids and you do everything for your kids and you protect your kids, you know, all you're doing is teaching them to sit back and wait for somebody else to do it. So that, you know, method of parenting on the behalf of my parents is, you know, a big reason why I'm completely 100% independent and self-sufficient now. You know, traveling here, you know, I was speaking at a conference in Indiana last night, and I flew from Chicago to Reykjavik, and I travel completely solo. You know, I'm lugging my own suitcase around. I do everything completely on my own. And that, like I said, my parents let me figure out how to do it, let me fail. And that's, you know, failure is a great thing. Failure is probably one of the best learning tools we will ever have in our lives. You know, fail often. Failure is only a bad thing if you fail once and then you quit. You learn from your mistakes. When you fall down, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you get back into it. And in those instances, if everybody here in this room and watching here today can think back to the moment in their lives where they thought they were down and out and, you know, they weren't going to be able to recover, but they were able to, or you were able to pick yourself up and you know, get back on top, you know, that's when you realize just how strong and resilient you are as an individual. So, you know, failure, you know, don't be afraid of failure. You know, embrace it and learn from it as much as you possibly can. Now, growing up for me, I grew up in Western Canada, like I said. I grew up in agriculture, helping out on the farm, riding around on combines and tractors and stuff like that as a kid, and still to this day. When I'm not traveling around doing presentation like this or doing marathons, I'm at home helping out on the farm as much as I possibly can, and I love it. I love it for many reasons, but one of the reasons why I love it is it's not a job you expect a guy without arms and legs to be doing. A lot of people are shocked when they hear that I can climb up into those tractors or into those combines on my own and operate them just as is. I don't need to make any modifications or changes. There's the odd tractor that I need a little piece of wood to hit the brake, but other than that, for the most part, I can just run them as is. And I'm going to show you guys a quick little video of it was done by a friend of mine at his farm down in Southern California, and it actually aired on the Oprah Winfrey Network, which was kind of cool, and it actually worked. It really helped out my speaking career too. When Oprah says, "Hey, you got to check this guy out," people tend to listen. So I'll play that here for you.
Here's the latest original short from filmmaker John.
There was very little he couldn't do.
I remember as a kid being sent down to the office because I wouldn't wear my prosthetic arm at school. They weren't really for me. I don't think I even realized I was missing arms and legs.
He's not only overcome the many physical challenges of his life, but he's gracefully navigated the most awkward moments.
I was handing out Halloween candy one year, and kids are like, "Oh, awesome costume!" I'm like, "I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt. It's not a costume. This is me. Come back here on the 1st of November, I'll be wearing the same thing." Some people are ashamed of their freckles. Some people are ashamed of that spare tire around their waist. They have big ears or a big nose or whatever. I think if you're worried about how you look,
you're cheating yourself out of opportunities.
Chris's powerful courage is fueled by the acceptance that he has for himself. Imagine if in our own lives we could all do the same.
Um, so, yeah, growing up without arms and legs, one of the things is you learn how to be a very outside of the box thinker, and you figure out unique ways to do things. And a lot of people ask me why I don't wear prosthetics, or if I ever have worn prosthetics, which, yeah, I tried out artificial arms when I was younger, as you saw in that video, and I hated them. They were heavy, they were cumbersome, and I found I could do everything that I needed to do with what I have far more efficiently than any prosthetics I'd ever tried. And you know, you saw me writing in that first video, or that video there, but one of the things I like to show people is operating my cell phone. It's a regular cell phone. There's no sticky on the back. There's no like sticky on the back of the case. A lot of people ask me if there's a magnet in there, which would only make sense if I was made of metal. But yeah, I can board down the road and check my messages, and I do not drop this thing. The last time I had a broken cell phone screen on my cell phone, my now ex-girlfriend, she was the one that dropped it and broke it, and she has hands. So what does that tell you? But yeah, I can hit the individual buttons, hit the passwords, hit the individual buttons to punch in my password. I don't use Siri or voice texting. I type out my emails manually. I always find you got to go back and correct everything, and it would have been just as long to type it out manually anyways. The only thing different I do on my phone than you guys would on your phone is if you're looking at a website or a photograph, you zoom in with your thumb and your pointer finger. I have to use my mouth, which my brother always teases me about whose photo I'm looking at, but you figure it out. As far as artificial legs are concerned, I actually I used to wear artificial legs up until probably about 7 years ago, and I was down in Florida taking a course, and I bought a longboard just for fun. I'd ridden a skateboard around the hallways at school when I was a younger kid, and I thought it'd be just kind of cool to cruise around up and down the boardwalk along the beach on a longboard. And the first time I got on the board, I went down the boardwalk, and about 10 minutes later, I stopped and I kind of looked back, and I just realized how much distance I had covered. I'd gone farther, faster, more efficiently than I ever could on my artificial legs, and I honestly, that was the last day or the day before that was the last day I ever wore artificial legs. I've been on the board ever since. As you saw in that last video, you know, I can hop around on my right leg if I get somewhere where, you know, there's gravel or grass or whatever, and throw the board over my shoulder, underneath my arm, or you know, going upstairs, not a problem at all. And actually, stairs, I do a lot of stairs when I'm doing marathon training, getting ready, because I might not always have an opportunity to have, you know, good paved pathway to go for my training runs or boards. So I'll actually just, if I'm staying in a hotel, because I spend a lot of time on the road, I'll just find a hotel, or whatever hotel I'm staying at, just go into the stairwell and go up and down 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, and I actually find it's a better workout than going out on the board. So I actually do prefer, for my training, doing the stairs. But you know, that whole, you know, the whole evolution of getting onto the longboard is what really, you know, sort of jump-started the possibility of doing these marathons. I would never be able to, I shouldn't say never, I don't like speaking in absolute, and it's if I can, not if I decide to do it. Some would, anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, it would have been really tough. Like I couldn't run, I couldn't even jog on my artificial legs. A brisk walk would have been as great a distance as I would have been able to, or the fastest I would have been able to go. But you know, the board, it was sort of the beginning of, I was never really caught up in how I looked. But when I graduated to using the board as my full-time method of transportation, I really adopted and embraced the whole idea. If you're worried about how you look, you're cheating yourself out of opportunity. And that's the one thing that people use, or the excuse that people use to talk themselves out of doing anything. You know, I'd love to learn how to dance, but I'll look like an idiot. Or I'd love to go, you know, I'd love to do a marathon, but I'm out of shape, and it would take me 6 hours to do it, and I'll look funny, and people will laugh at me. But it's honestly, that's all you. That is all you. You're the only person who thinks that. And you know, when I started doing marathons, there were so many people that were so encouraging, and it was really cool. But yeah, just getting rid of that idea of, it doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to do a marathon. Just get out and do it and have fun. And the only person you need to do it for is you. And yeah, so when I really fully embraced the whole idea of, you know, if you're worried about how you look, you're cheating yourself out of opportunity. You know, all of a sudden, you know, I was traveling around the world. I was just going out and doing things because I wanted to, and not using, you know, people are going to stare at me, or you know, I might not be able to do it because I don't have arms and legs, or I'll look funny doing it, or what if they don't let me use my board to do the marathon? Just go out there and try, and that's you know, what opened up the whole idea of doing a marathon. Now, the very first marathon I did was the Calgary Marathon. The very first marathon I tried to do was the LA Marathon. Now, back to my girlfriend at the time, the phone dropping one. Her and I were going over our bucket list, places we'd like to travel, things we'd like to do, and a marathon came up. Is one of the things that'd be kind of neat to say you'd done a marathon. And a little while later, some friends of ours were doing the LA Marathon. And they were doing it as a relay, and it was on Valentine's Day. It was going to be the most romantic thing ever. You know, to do a half marathon each, and, you know, yada, yada, yada. So we entered, and then I thought, well, I should really talk to the organizers of the LA Marathon and just make sure they're okay with it. And they unfortunately wouldn't allow me to use my longboard. They said, if they let me use a longboard, then everybody's going to want to use their longboards or skateboards. And I said, well, it's not really, a black and white thing like that. I said, you allow hand cycles. If I could use a hand cycle, I would use that. You allow runners. If I had legs, I would do that. You allow wheelchairs. If I used a wheelchair, I would do that. But this is my mobility aid. This is how I get around. Can we please talk about this? Unfortunately, it was a hard no, which, I mean, it was disappointing, but it is what it is. And so what ended up happening is the organizer of the Calgary Marathon, which is my home marathon, there was a news story done on it, and she said, we look at things on a case-to-case basis, and we see no reason why Chris using the longboard would be an issue. So we got talking, and I said, you know what, I would love to do, I'd love to take you up on the idea of doing the Calgary Marathon. And I said, but I don't want to do a half. I said, let's just go all in. And so that was my first marathon. And I did that one in 4 hours, 23 minutes, and 16 seconds. And honestly, it was one of the coolest things ever. My girlfriend was at the finish line, but probably even cooler was my mom had done some marathons and some triathlons and stuff like that. And when she was doing that, the idea of me ever doing a marathon was not even remotely close to being in the cards in my mind. So when I came around the corner, she was on the corner. She was crying, and it's pretty cool going by her, knowing that I was just about to finish my first marathon. And the idea of doing a marathon or doing anything that is any sort of a challenge, whether it be a challenge for somebody with or without arms and legs, the core of the human spirit comes from new experiences. And the whole idea or the thought process of if I can is I'm wanting to push myself to go out and do as many things as I possibly can. You know, I have a bucket list, and everybody has a bucket list, and unfortunately, a lot of people have bucket lists that they keep adding things onto, but they're not crossing things off that bucket list, and I don't want to be doing that. I want to be going out there, adding things to my bucket list, and also crossing them off. And you know, I think once I really, you know, started going out there and living life to the absolute fullest, I honestly, I'm probably having more fun now without arms and legs than I ever would have with arms and legs. And I mean, there's no way to quantify that, but honestly, I'm having an absolute blast. And so that was my first marathon with my ugly beard. And then I don't know who here is running their first marathon tomorrow. All right, who here is running their second, third, fourth, whatever marathons? And it's addictive. Like, you do one, and it's just like, you know, you relish in the fact that you just completed your first marathon or your 10th marathon or whatever, and you sit in that for a while. At least this is how it works for me. And then about an hour or two later, you're like, okay, what's the next one I'm going to do? And that's exactly how it's been for me. And so this will be my 6th marathon tomorrow. And just a whole lot of neat opportunities have come through these marathons, whether it be travel or whatever. And one of the neater ones was the opportunity to meet our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. That was just before the half marathon I did in Ottawa. By the way, he only did the 5K, but I thought about really rubbing it in. Like, I have no arms, no legs, and I'm doing a half. You should be at least doing full marathon. But and then I heard that the president of Iceland is doing the half tomorrow. So I think it'd be kind of cool if I had the chance to meet him. So we'll see. But no, it's been an absolute ride. And you know, I was asked in an interview today, so how many marathons do you plan on doing? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, this is my 6th. Maybe I'll get to triple digits. I have no idea. I'm just having fun doing them, and that's the biggest thing, is I'm not out there. You know, tomorrow I'm not. I might get my personal best. I don't know. It might take me 5.5 hours to do it. I don't know. Chances are I'm going to be slower because I've never been to Reykjavik, and I'm going to be sightseeing along the way. Is it bad to take a camera with you on the marathon to take pictures? But I'm just going to be out there having fun, and that's the biggest thing, is having fun doing it. I'm not trying to be faster than other runners. I mean, I can't really compare myself to runners. I mean, going uphill, it takes me a lot more energy and a lot more work to get uphill. Going downhill, I love downhills. And I got to find a marathon that's just completely downhill all the way. And make it be a Boston qualifier, something like that. Would be absolutely unfair. But no, it's been so much fun, and that's back to the whole idea of if I can, just, you know, using this as an opportunity to push myself and see what I'm capable of doing, and hopefully when people see me doing, you know, things like marathons, or you know, running farm equipment, or even just something as simple as living a happy, independent life, I truly hope people take a look at that, and then take a look in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? I think I got more in the tank for myself. There's more for me to see and do out there, and hopefully it's that nudge or proverbial kick in the butt to make more of their own lives as well. Now, I've said that life has been pretty amazing, and life has been, you know, pretty fun cruise. But, you know, there are bad days. There are days where, you know, I do think to myself, you know what, if I had arms and legs, life would be a hell of a lot easier. There are days where, you know, I throw that pity party and think, you know, why me? This sucks. You know, and I guess, you know, when I'm having those days, and we all have bad days. It's inevitable. And often what happens is, you know, just, you know, one thing after another, and that bad day just gets worse and worse and worse. And when those days are happening, I try and slow it down. And instead of, you know, feeling sorry for myself that I'm missing arms and legs, I try and slow it down and think, all right, I'm missing arms and legs, but what are the good things going on in life? Because when you're sitting in a puddle of negativity, it's really, really easy to just let negativity in and block out any sort of positives that are around you, that are potentially coming in. And so I try and slow it down and think, all right, what's going on good in my life. I mean, I have an amazing family. I have 2 little nephews and a niece that I absolutely love to death. I have a job that I absolutely love. I get to travel around the world, share my story, do cool things, and hopefully make a positive impact. I mean, this job is, it's brought me here to Reykjavik. It's taken me down to Australia, and actually, just this past winter, I was down in Australia speaking at a conference, and afterwards, I got to go shark cage diving with great white sharks. And so on the 2-hour boat ride out to the Neptune Islands, we're sitting on the boat, and I was telling people that that was actually my second time shark cage diving. The first time didn't go so well. That was awesome because the captain of the ship, or the boat, once we dropped anchor and they're getting ready to drop us and the cages in there, he's like, all right, so you're going to be in the shark cage, you're going to have your GoPro camera, and there's going to be great white sharks swimming by. And he says, you're really going to want to get a good shot of them, but he says, don't stick your arm outside of the cage. That would be a really stupid thing to do. Just ask Chris. So I love it when other people get in on the jokes too. But no, all those things, when I really look at that and take inventory on the positives in life, it makes the fact that I was born missing arms and legs absolutely moot, completely secondary. And as I said before, I'm having more fun now. I'm pretty sure more success without arms and legs than I ever would have with arms and legs. And again, there's no way to measure that, no way to quantify that, but it's been an amazing ride. And honestly, my worst days have nothing to do with the fact that I'm missing arms and legs. It's something completely different, but something will happen, and it's really easy to blame it on the no arms, no legs. Just like somebody else might blame, their woes on money or opportunity or race or gender or whatever. It's easy to blame it on something. You got to blame it on something. You can't just have a bad day. You got to blame it on something. And yeah, again, for me, it has nothing to do with this. And actually, one of my worst days in recent memory is right there. That was the last Calgary Marathon. Picture was taken just over halfway through. I saw the clock, and I knew I was going to have my personal best. And I had a chance at getting under 4 hours. And so once I saw that, I was going as hard as I could. When I got to the finish line, I ended up finishing 4 hours 2 minutes and 3 seconds. And then, yeah, kind of confusing as to why that might be a bad day. But the day before that, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I was absolutely crushed, devastated. And honestly, that day I didn't even want to get out of bed. The last thing I wanted to do was go board, 42.2 kilometers. But you push through those bad days. You push through, and there's often good things. So I was joking around with my brother. He said, well, you need to date somebody before this marathon in Reykjavik and get her to dump you the day before, and maybe you'll get another personal best. But you push through the crappy stuff, and you come out better on the other end. And that's back to the whole idea of my worst days are it's all up here. It's the 6 inches of space or the 30 centimeters of space between the ears. This up here is the strongest muscle you have in your body, and it's also the biggest obstacle you'll ever have in your lives. This is what gets in your way. It has nothing to do with physical ability. The taxi driver that drove me over here, he's a power lifter, and we were talking about the psychology of sports, and the body is capable of doing some pretty amazing things. It's just a matter of letting the brain get out of the way and say, all right, you can do this. And for people who've done marathon, one of the marathons I've done is a Modesto marathon, and it goes quite a ways outside of the city. And then there's just nothing but open fields, and you might encounter 3 or 4 people in a span of 3 or 4 miles, and it's you don't have people banging drums and ringing cowbells and stuff like that to pump you up. It's a matter of saying, all right, I'm 17 miles in, and I really just want a cold beer and a nap. I don't want to go another 5-7 miles or whatever. But and that goes back to the whole and this is one of my favorite quotes of Robin Williams, and it's everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. We all have our own story. We all have our own challenges. We all have our own obstacles. And, I think where it kind of begins and ends is you have a choice. Whatever your challenge or your obstacle or your story is, you can make that your excuse. So for me, I could have very easily said, you know what, this sucks. Why me? I was born without arms and legs. I quit. I was going to hang out at home and live off the government, which, that's never been an option for me. The other option you have is accepting what it is, accepting that you can't change it, but what you can do is make the most of that situation. And I've gone out and tried to make the most of that situation every single day. And, it's about taking control of your circumstances instead of passively awaiting for them to decide your fate. Accept what it is and just go out there and make the most of life and have as much fun as you can doing it. And that goes, again, back into the whole idea of if I can. If a guy with an arms and legs can do marathons or snowboard or surf or run farm equipment or travel the world or whatever, anybody is capable of absolutely anything. Again, it's up here. It has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with physical ability. It's all up here. And really, believing in yourself and telling yourself that you can and getting it right up here. Now, if I can, I originally started off as an idea for a travel show. I love travel, and a buddy of mine, JR, he'd done quite a bit of traveling too, and we thought it'd be a neat idea for a travel show. There's all kinds of travel shows out there. Ours would be the unique element of a guy without arms and legs going out and doing all this cool stuff. So we partnered up with a production company in Los Angeles and filmed a pilot or the very first episode of this travel show, and I've got the first couple of minutes of it here if you guys would like to see it. The answer has to be yes, because I'm showing it anyways. Growing up, I spent a lot of time on my grandpa's farm in a small town in southern Alberta, and it was a pretty normal life. I am Chris Koch, farmer, motivational speaker.
Anything is possible. If you can dream it, you can do it.
And a professional adventurer.
Chris's life needs to be exciting, so if it's not, he has nothing to talk about.
A professional adventurer is the job of a lifetime.
Chris has never shied away from anything, ever. He's an amazing athlete. He can do a lot of stuff that I know a lot of people can't do.
Chris has been doing this his whole life.
I grew up very, very slowly. I'm still only about 3'6". People say that I have a disarming personality. I use that humor as a great icebreaker. People are like, oh, this guy is easygoing, he's laughing and loving life. I definitely have some disadvantages of being a professional adventurer based on my physical limitations, but I try not to acknowledge that. Yeah, I was born without arms and legs, but it happens. I've got this amazing girlfriend, my family, incredible friends. I'm trying to cross off bucket list items, and as hectic as it is, there's so many other amazing things out there to see and do. If a guy without arms and legs can do all those things, anybody is capable of doing anything. This is going to be a fun ride. So, we obviously have to reshoot some of that stuff because I don't have the girlfriend anymore. Whoops. But yeah, we're still working on trying to find the perfect fit for that show. There was some networks that wanted it to be more of a relationship show, which I have had. Well, neither one of us had any desire to have it be anything like that. It's completely misses the point of it. It's a travel show, and it's about going out there and testing your limits and pushing yourself and really truly proving yourself what you're capable of doing as an individual. Now, I firmly believe you get out of life what you put into it. You put out positivity, you put out happiness, you put out love, you put out generosity, you're going to get that back. You put out negativity, you put out hatred, you put out ugliness, you're going to get that back as well. Yeah, there's some exceptions to that rule. Sometimes good things happen to bad people, and yeah, sometimes bad people fall upon good fortune, but for the most part, I think if you stick to this formula, it works. And I've been very, very fortunate in my travels to have a lot of really, and just in my life in general, to have a lot of really cool, amazing, generous people come across my path. And one one I guess challenge or adventure I always thought would be kind of cool was I thought it'd be kind of neat to hitchhike across Canada, which I don't think you can call it hitchhiking if you don't have thumbs. But yeah, I had a couple weeks, about 3 weeks of spare time. Wasn't really much happening on the farm, and I thought, it'd be kind of neat to go out and try and hitchhike across Canada. Like what a neat way to see the country. I had a couple buddies who did the same, and so on the morning of July 6th, I decided on July 8th I was gonna head out, and I started in Calgary, and I wanted this trip to be purely through the kindness of strangers. I didn't want to ask people for rides. I didn't want to try and flag people down on the side of the road. I just wanted to let people offer up assistance, kindness, generosity. And so yeah, I crossed from Calgary all the way to St. John's, Newfoundland, 6,338 kilometers in 18 days. And yeah, it was actually incredible. And that whole trip, there was absolutely not one single instance of anybody doing anything negative or mean or at all. It was all just kindness, and it was absolutely awesome just to see how incredibly kind people are. And one of the stops that guy on the left, he actually hitchhiked across Canada about 3 years ago, and he also is missing his arms and has short legs. And then the other person that I really wanted to make sure I paid homage to is just outside of Thunder Bay, is a monument for Terry Fox. Has anybody here ever heard of Terry Fox? He's a Canadian, and he lost his leg to cancer. And this is in the late 70s, early 80s. And when his cancer was in remission, he decided he wanted to run across Canada to raise money for cancer research. And he did, he called it the Marathon of Hope. And he started in St. John's, Newfoundland, and headed west. And he did 43 or 44 days straight, a marathon every single day on one leg. And I mean, he is probably one of the most incredible people to ever have walked this earth, in my opinion. And unfortunately, the cancer did come back, and he did succumb. But yeah, it was about 43 or 44 marathons in a row. And that's absolutely incredible. And I figured I cannot cross Canada without paying tribute to him. But and that's me there at the furthest east point of North America, and also Canada at Cape Spear. But I guess in wrapping up, I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions, and then also have time for Jack to get set up for his presentation. But I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I hope you had some good laughs. I hope you enjoyed the stories. But more importantly, I hope my sharing my story has you thinking about yourselves and things you've thought about doing, or talked about doing, or dreamt about doing, and hesitated for whatever reason, and instead of just going out there and doing it. And I tell people I'm far more afraid of regret than I am of failure. I do not want to look back on life saying, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have tried that, or I should have done. I just want to go out there and say, you know what, I did as many things as I possibly could. I did as much as I possibly could. I've had an amazing ride. Maybe not everything went the way I'd hoped, but at least I put myself out there, and at least I tried. And I was speaking at a conference in St. Louis a while ago, and there was a guy talking about YOLO, you only live once. And he said it should be YODO, you only die once. He said when you wake up, every person in this room, when we woke up on the morning of January 1st, we were given 365 opportunities to live. But don't wait for New Year's, or don't wait for Monday, or don't wait for the beginning of the month. Do it right now. There's absolutely no time like the present. If you give yourself, you try and set, the bar a little too far ahead. Well, you keep pushing that. Just do it now. There's absolutely no time like the present.
This jump is taking a huge leap of faith.
He's built this bridge to a new life, and he is jumping into totally uncharted territories. So this leap is everything.
If I can jump off this bridge and come out on top, I can jump into this new chapter of my life and come out on top. People create all kinds of limitations, and if people think I'm a hero, then I've done a pretty good job tricking them. I just like to have fun.
I think the world really needs a dude who's maybe had more struggle than everyone else, who still is so willing to go head on, just do ridiculous things and not take anything too seriously.
Chris is a living, breathing, not walking, but rowing example of that.
If I can take this leap of faith, anybody can. See you later.
I survived. It's okay.